the truest and the realest. I'm a pittance, captain to these niggas, feelings, motherfucker. We hustle, we grind, and we solemnly swear to never give a hoe a dime, dime.
2018, 5:58 p.m. and it's on to the hurricanes. We're looking at current temperatures of the U.S. and it is hot. I actually took a picture of my temperature gauge in my bathroom and it was 106 in the sun. Yeah, that's not fun. But just to give you a quick little idea of what's going on around the U.S. as far as temperatures, we do have some scattered storms. But top of the conversation will not be the heat right now. We are going to be talking about a very strong storm that has rapidly intensified. This chart right here, maybe if I even refresh it, it'll update. There we go. Category 4. Hurricane Florence has become Category 4 status. 130 mile per hour winds sustained. Dropped down to 953 pressure. We also see Gordon here, which made a pretty significant left hook turn into the northeast area of Louisiana, causing thousands of power outages. The biggest issue with this storm was the water. There was significant flooding in the Mississippi, Alabama, and some of these outskirts of Louisiana, including the Panhandle. As we expected, guys, like I said, tropical storms are nothing to mess with. But when we get to certain other topics, such as Category 4 hurricanes, that's a whole other issue. And the reason I'm stressing this is because the models are now showing that Florence is going to get dangerously close to the east coast of the U.S. And that's not just the Canadians or the Europeans, that's also the GFS, the Navigen, you name it. Every single model has this thing getting very, very, very close. Almost touching land in some of these models before the supposed high pressure system we're waiting for is going to push it back out to the Atlantic. But as I've been stressing in the past videos, guys, even if you take an hour or two away from the amount of time that high pressure takes to get to this part of the U.S., that's an hour or two a day that Florence can get closer and closer, and that is exactly what's happening. If you look down here, we have a 90% chance of cyclone formation over 5 days. That will be Hurricane Helena. 90% over 5 days. This is officially named Invest 92L. So we have this to look forward to right after Florence. And then, just popping up recently, 30% chance over 5 days could be the possibility of Hurricane Isaac. This is 30% chance over 5 days. So, again, guys, just like I've been saying, we are going to see storm after storm after storm just rolling off this west coast of Africa, and these things are going to stay low. They could come up into the middle. It's all going to depend on the Bermuda Atlantic pressure, and that's exactly what's steering Hurricane Florence right now. Now, let's get into this a little bit. First, let's take a look at what Gordon has been up to since overnight last night. You could see that as we move backwards, most of it was condensed as expected over the Panhandle, Mississippi, Alabama, and leaving a little bit of Louisiana out of there. But then as it got onto land, even though you see most of the rain and the storms in this area, the central pressure was right here. That's where they measured that left hook, and that's why so many people are without power in this area. So tropical storms, guys, very dangerous. Do not take them lightly in the future. This is why we follow them, and this is why we follow them all the way up through the states. Now, this is also going to be a continuing situation over the next 5 days. You could see some of these rain rates, guys. You see this brown color right here? You match it to here. That is 7 inches of rain between right now, September 5th, to the September 10th date, which is 5 days. So Gordon has come up into the U.S. and it's going to make a right hook towards the northeast, eventually affecting the northeast. But the amount of rain it's expected to dump in some of these areas is just unreal. 7 inches of rain we could expect over the next 5 days in these areas of Missouri, moving into just under the Great Lakes, basically, right where all that mess always happens. So got to keep an eye on that still, even though it has been downgraded dramatically since hitting land. All right, Florence is now the first major hurricane of the 2018 season, as it has passed Category 3 and now is officially a Category 4 storm. Guys, some of these charts are showing this thing as a Category 5 hurricane making landfall. Some of the charts are showing South Carolina. Some are showing, obviously, it coming up into the pocket here, anywhere from North Carolina through the Chesapeake Bay into New Jersey and Long Island. Nonetheless, many of these charts are now showing this coming, like I said, very, very close to the U.S. coast. So we need to really focus on this storm. And in this chart here, you'll be able to see how quickly this thing just gained its shape. You're going to see a little bit of shifting going on. All that is the, I believe the satellite shifting, or the camera that's filming this is shifting with the storm. So whenever you see little shifts, you'll notice these numbers down here move as well. So it is staying in the same spot. It looks like it's being glitched around, but it's really not. It's just as they're following the storm, these coordinates move. So I'm going to hit play here, and you could see how this eye develops so quickly. Right around now, you could see that. There we go. And that is what we're currently dealing with right now. That is a perfect textbook hurricane. Perfect eye wall. Very, very strong outer donut area. Probably reaching 75 to 80 miles out from the eye. The darker the area you see, the stronger the winds are. And this thing, absolutely rapid intensification. When you go from Category 1 or even tropical storm to Category 4 within a 24 to 36 hour period, that is certainly rapid intensification. So this is certainly going to be the topic of conversation for a while now. And there's also a big storm behind it, which would be 92L Helena or Helene. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but that storm is almost guaranteed to form and follow a very similar path. So you could see on this chart here, we get a good view of Florence as it's making its way across the Atlantic Ocean right now. The Leeward Islands would be right down in this area, and then we have Puerto Rico in there, and then the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then Cuba right here. So you can see we are still a far distance off, but we're going to be focusing on the spaghetti plots and the tropical tidbits models to show where they believe this storm is going to be headed. So we're going to do that right now. Now the GFS is slowly updating its new data, so we might not be able to see this thing all the way through to where it gets to land, but we can back it up one day and see what they had previously thought. So as of right now, this is what the GFS has to say. We're going to be following this storm from the 7th right now, so that's 2 days from now. You could see high pressure building up around the top of it, keeping it semi-low, not allowing it to hook north like it originally showed in those earlier plots, where it would come up in this direction and then just get thrown out. It is not showing that any longer. The GFS is also showing this storm coming very close to the coast. All you have to do is back up to the past about 6 hours ago. This was their data. So here we go with the GFS. This is what they are predicting right now. That is that is just way too close for comfort. 926 millibars pressure, guys. So if you read that off the Saffir-Simpson scale, the 926 would fall under about a category, it could be Category 4 status according to the GFS. This is certainly capable of honing a Category 4 storm. When we look at the European model, this one's a little more drastic. This is showing a direct landfall into the North Carolina, Virginia area around September 13th as 968, maybe a little weaker than a Cat 4, could be a Cat 3. Regardless, that is considered a major hurricane. And then down here you see Hurricane Helena, according to the Europeans, will be forming very low. So this may be a storm that we have to watch depending on whether or not the pressure keeps this thing low enough. This could become a Gulf storm. We just don't know yet. We're too far out to really make those predictions. But the lower these storms form and the higher pressure we have in the Bermuda Atlantic, that's when we see storms like Irma and Maria that come across the Leeward Islands and then affect areas of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, and then the Bahamas, South Florida, and then the Gulf. So I'm not saying that that's where this storm's going. I'm just saying the lower these storms go, the higher the probability that they will reach these areas and then get caught in here. And then it's all up to the jet stream to depend on where these storms are going to go, if they reach the Gulf or if it's going to get pushed up to the east side of Florida. So again, Florence is main concern right now. Now let's check out the Canadian model. and they are very similar to the GFS right now. So all three of the major models are all showing this storm getting dangerously close to the U.S. coast. And this is what we were worried about, because at first, again, we saw this storm coming up in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and then getting pushed out by a high pressure system in the U.S. They are now saying that that high pressure system will either be late or non-existent at all. So according to the CMC, September 13th, you will see the storm right around here, 982, a little bit of a higher pressure than the previous European and the GFS models. So it might be a bit of a weaker storm, but nonetheless, when we get storms this close to the northeast, you know that that will be talked about nonstop on the news. So just be prepared for this, guys. We're talking a couple hours a day, and this thing makes direct landfall to any state from Georgia all the way up to the Chesapeake Bay in New Jersey. We could even be dealing with a turn right here where it clips Long Island and Massachusetts and parts of Connecticut. So this is a serious situation. When we're five days from now would be the 10th. And of course, anything 5 days out, you don't want to put too much emphasis on. But once we get to the 10th, if this is true, by the 10th, you'll see the storm right around here. And when you see the high pressure surrounding it like this, you can almost assume that it's going to stay low as it moves into the next couple days after the 10th, which is, like I said, 5 days from now. So the farther this thing moves west, the bigger the chance it has of coming up the East Coast. Now, again, this is already a Category 4 storm. It may drop to a Category 3 during its travels, but then it's expected once it hits this Bahama warm water, it's going to blow up again to a major hurricane. So this is what we're dealing with, guys. I keep repeating myself, but you know what? That's the only thing you can do when you're reading these data charts. You just go by what you see and you report it. You give your estimated guesses. And right now, not just me, but did I have the weather.com pulled up? Let's look at that channel actually really quick. So, okay, breaking. Major Hurricane Florence is rapidly intensifies into Category 4. So they just literally updated this as I'm talking to you right now. So we'll click this link real quick and see what they have to say. Florence rapidly intensifies into Atlantic's first major hurricane of 2018. Interests in Bermuda and along the U.S. coast should be monitoring this storm, just like we said. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Rapid intensification is never something you want to see with hurricanes. That means it basically skips over categories. We were dealing with a tropical storm just a few days ago, and now we are a Category 4, 130 mile an hour winds sustained. Those aren't gusts, so we could be dealing with gusts of about 145 at this point. If this thing does reach Category 5 strength, then we have something to seriously worry about, because even if it does begin to weaken as it approaches the coast, you got to understand it'll drop down to a 4 and then a 3, and if we get hit by a 3, that will be devastating to whatever coast it hits or whatever state it hits. So there's no dramatics going on here. These are just facts, guys. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I always say that because that is not why I'm here. I'm here to just present you data that we are all have public access to, and that's why I use these charts, because we get to look at different points of view, different models showing different ideas, and then we come to our conclusion and we just have a better understanding of what we're going to be dealing with. So Florence is next, guys. We need to prepare for Florence. We need to watch this storm. And really quick before I let you go, this chart right here is going to become a very useful tool as we watch Florence, because we need to keep an eye on the pressure compared to the mile per hour, and that is how they determine whether or not these storms are Category 1 through 5. You could kind of match the pressures. There was one of the models that had Hurricane Florence dropping underneath 920 millibars. Anything under 920 is considered a Category 5 storm, which is 157 mile per hour winds and above. So you guys can do the math. That would be an 18-foot storm surge, which is just, it's unimaginable at this point. So we're just going to keep an eye on this, guys. I appreciate your time. And I also want to thank every single one of you. This channel has actually reached 20,000 subscribers, and it's been just over a year that I've had this particular channel. I've been on YouTube for about 10 years now with multiple channels, And I just got to say that I don't think I have a better group of subs than I can ask for. We have broken that 20,000 sub count. All thanks to you guys sharing these videos, sharing the info. Obviously, thank you to my amazing girlfriend, Caroline, who keeps all of you guys updated down in the comment section and sends me valuable information. So we could not be more grateful for you guys watching and spreading our info, and that's why we are here. So I just want to put out a special thank you to all of you down below and all of you that watch and spread these videos. So, all right, guys, we will talk soon. Stay safe, everybody. We have a lot coming. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.